Ugh.
Okay, let's see.
How the hell did
Live
I
on
hit
YouTube, or we're live on Twitch.
Just as a heads up, Boston.
Yeah.
I think your mic is very, very loud right now. I don't know if that's just me, but your mic seems to be picking up really loud.
Sounds like you're coming in a little hot too.
Yay, new Skype.
Check, 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 check.
Hi.
Check, 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 check. Fuck.
I don't know with me. I don't know if it's actually because I'm using new headphones or not.
Check, check, check. Does that sound okay? Or is that still loud?
It's still a little loud, but...
Alright, you're just gonna have to deal with it on your end.
Yeah, no worries.
I apologize, Boston. It took way longer than anticipated.
Yep.
Oh. I wish the Discord app will let you
Damn it.
the Discord app would let me give these stupid smiley faces.
Alright, I had to change something. Hopefully we'll be live on YouTube here in a minute. If not, I'll have to restart the stream. Okay, now we're live on YouTube.
They made a Bride of the Reanimator.
What the hell's the Reanimator?
There's not enough time to explain why that's wrong. How can you not be aware of the movie The Reanimator?
It could be because I'm English.
No. The hell was that one, whatchamacallit? Blue... No, it's not Blue Oyster. It was, Blue Monday, I think, did a cover of a song that was all... The whole video was the Reanimator movie.
Yep, no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know, it was a popular song a few years ago.
Alright, you guys ready to do this?
Yep.
Ready to go.
Alright, starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of TVGP Game Club. This is it's been 4 weeks, so let's talk about our latest game, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, leading up to our next game, which we'll announce here at the very end. Let's talk about Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I guess if you don't know already, came out March 20th, 1997, which means it's a hot 20 years old this year, which is rough.
Yeah, that surprised me. I think it was because I played the backwards compatible Xbox One version, which was the 360, and that surprised me when it loaded up and it was like copyright 1997, and I was like, okay, it's older than I thought.
Doesn't feel 20 years old though.
Doesn't play 20-year-old game either.
Published by Konami, developed by Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo, the old K-set. Platforms originally came out on PlayStation 1, also came out on Saturn. Heaven help your mortal soul if you play that version, it's bad.
The Saturn one is that?
Yeah, Saturn version is... It's missing a lot.
So imagine, Moon, imagine playing that game without a map.
Yeah.
Okay, no, thank you.
And if it looked way worse. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
It's also come out on a ton of stuff. We talked about the Xbox Live version. It was a hidden feature of the Dracula X Chronicles PSP game. It was out on PS1 Classics. I mean, it's come out on a lot of stuff over the years. Let's talk about time travel here. Metacritic has it at 93. I sort of couldn't figure out if that was just the original releases stuff. It was incredibly well received back then, or if that lumps like the Xbox Live Arcade version in, which would maybe skew it a little bit higher.
Yeah.
OpenCritic does not have a score because it's too old. Metacritic has scraped that far back. Peers are going to be a little bit different because I don't have a full release schedule for that year. I do have releases for the first quarter, and I have 12 of them here, and they're all hot bangers. So let's let's start with Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, okay.
Mario Kart 64.
Okay.
Blast Corps.
Oh, yes.
Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
The original?
Yeah, the first one on
like
64, yeah. Tekken 3. Mega Man 8. Vandal Hearts. Need for Speed 2. And this hot trio of games, Dungeon Keeper, Shadow Warrior, and Blood.
Oh,
that's insane.
That's just the first 3 months of 1997.
Isn't 97, I think it's like 2007 and 97 are both regarded as possibly the best years.
And now 2017.
Yeah.
Another one.
I can't wait till 2027.
Hell yeah. Top of the pile or overlooked?
Top of the pile.
Later. It originally didn't sell very well, and it was kind of a cult classic for a couple of years until the Greatest Hits version came out. And then it sort of took off like wildfire.
Oh, yeah, that was the old Platinum Edition, wasn't it? Like, where it was like this silver box.
Yeah, you guys got Platinum Edition. We got Greatest Hits where it had a green stripe on it.
Yeah, we got the better one, where it was a silver box around the box art, and it shrunk down. Yeah.
Yeah. So, now it's, considered one of the greatest games of all time, and it's, top 5, top 10, that sort of thing. But I think a lot of people forget that during launch, it was a bit of a sleeper hit for a while. The back of the manual has an ad for Metal Gear Solid coming soon. It wasn't an age for a lot of stuff like that. All right, let's dive right into the game itself. I don't know where to start.
Okay,
I'll tell you what, that thing opens up hot.
Yeah, Rondo of Blood, which we never got here in the States until the aforementioned Dracula X Chronicles.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, you guys, I'm assuming, owned the physical copies of this back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Was the manual useful for this game? Because the game sure as heck isn't useful for telling you new things.
The manual, I think, only has the control in it and like a couple pictures of the here, this is Maria and this is Alucard and ooh, this is Dracula and Death, and I think it has one of the spells, and I think that's it. Like the spell to shoot fire, and I think that's it. It was one of Konami's, I believe, real thin black and white ones. If I had my PlayStation 1 games, I'd grab it, but it's off in the shadow zone over there in the closet. I should have pulled it out.
I think it's right behind me.
But I mean, that. To be honest, it's 20 years old, and there's help a finger click away, especially these days with the internet.
Mm-hmm.
That was something I struggled with at the start of that game, was understanding everything that was going on, because
what the hell do I do?
It's also kind of the charm of the game in the way that a Dark Souls is, where it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't teach you where you're going or what you're doing. It's very basic.
There it is. If you're watching the live stream, Knobs has his Black Label Symphony of the Night there.
And one of
Black Disc. Yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons. There you go, coming soon, Metal Gear Solid. I think that's one of the big reasons why Symphony of the Night took a little bit of time to get going, is because in 97, there was still this transition from the 16-bit to the 32-bit era, and 16-bit games were still very much... Alright, I'm going to open up the the manual, and I'm gonna read all the moves, you know, and I'm gonna learn about the story, and then
there's a rules page in here.
Awesome. Is there a notes page?
Come on, it's a manual.
There's got to be.
That far back.
Almost at the back.
I'm gonna lean. Yep, there's a one notes page.
Nice.
It's a manual.
I think,
you know.
I think this was the sort of transition where it's like we're gonna make meatier non-arcade games that aren't RPGs, and I think when you look at this and you compare it to the previous game we got here in the States, I believe was Super Castlevania 4, which was Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3, the traditional Castlevania.
Yeah, the arcade path.
Yeah, which this game starts out with, which is like, oh, it's Rondo of Blood. What's happening? I think some of the versions still call it Bloodlines.
Yeah, mine says Bloodlines.
Yeah, and I think Symphony of the Night does so many things so differently from the previous games that I'm not sure how much they could have put in the manual. Like, in all of the previous games, you only have the whip and your sub-weapon. Now you're gathering items and armor and weapons and spells, and you're leveling up. Like, it's such a different experience that I don't think they knew how to write a manual for it, I don't think.
Well, in that it takes a step away, because it kind of took what Super Metroid did and added the entire RPG equipment element to it. Mm-hmm. Because before, like, you know, when everyone says, "Well, it's a Super Metroid ripoff," I was like, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the map and the exploration and the backtracking, yes, it has all those tropes of Super Metroid. But when you got an upgrade in Super Metroid, it was permanent. Like, you couldn't adjust, you couldn't move.
You got 5 more missiles.
Items. Right, and it was just such an incremental thing. But these, you have to change items all the time. And, like, I didn't realize until this most recent playthrough, man, how important what armor you're wearing matters.
Yeah.
Yup.
Well, and there are instances of you finding really great rings, for example, like the Ring of 24. It's like, I can equip this and my attack goes through the roof. Oh, I have 0 armor now. Okay, crap.
Yep.
You know, and I think even from a more fundamental standpoint from this game, you know, the very first weapon you pick up is just like a dumb short sword. Second one you pick up is a rusty short sword, but pretty quickly you pick up like a 2-handed broadsword, and here's just a dagger, and here's a fist weapon. Like, you're picking up all these items that aren't just, oh, it's a stronger sword. It's like, well, this thing functions radically differently from the thing I just picked up, and now I can play this game differently. I think that's pretty clever.
Well, it's funny. The funny thing is like when you're going through and you're actually digging into more of the details of the sub weapons and actually the main weapons you have. Like, I love that animation for the punch. It's like, oh
yeah, he's got a real boxer's jab on him.
Yeah.
But when I was using, because I was like, this time I was like, I'm gonna try as many different weapons as I can this playthrough, and for the first time I think I ever equipped the Terrifying Blade, which is strong versus holy. There is nothing holy in this entire castle.
Yeah.
So it does like no damage. I was like, this thing is horrible. And I was like, oh. And then when I fought Richter, like I 2-shotted him with it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's clever. I never knew about that.
No, it's like the thing that I love as well is the animations that all change so much with each different weapon as well. Like, every different weapon has its own little animation style that it puts forward, and then you'll accidentally get like the ice blade or the fire blade and accidentally do a fireball motion.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, wait, what was that? What just happened?
Yep. One of my favorites is the Holy Rod, where you do back, forward, and attack.
Yep.
It shoots out like this spinning thing out of it.
I didn't know about that one.
No, Knobs is right. The Holy Rod does a larger attack. What? Maybe it's the shield rod.
The shield rod throws the spinning thing that does nothing.
Yeah, it does nothing, but it looks cool. Yeah. So Moon, Knobs and I have played this game a good number of times before. This is your first time playing this, correct?
Yes. It's not my first time ever seeing it. Like, I've seen screenshots of it, and I was familiar with a lot of the characters in it, like Richter, for example, and things like that. I knew that from playing Castlevania HD, which I played because I loved the DS versions. and HD. I've got so much more respect and love for HD because of this game and because of the previous DS ones as well. Like Alucard is in that. I didn't understand all of the obsession with Alucard, because if you ever play HD, it has I think it's up to 8 players multiplayer on it. Everybody wants to be Alucard.
Yeah.
Every single person. Yeah. And now I can kind of understand why.
Alucard's a cool dude.
He really is. And to be honest, it was one of these games where when I started playing it, like the Bloodline stage, I was a little confused by, because I think I just recently finished watching Vinny Vania on Giant Bomb, who is playing through every single Castlevania game. And I was watching him basically play Bloodlines, that game itself, whatever it's called over here. And I enjoyed it. It was okay. And then when I got to the actual meat of the game, I was like, okay, now this is my kind of jam, because I do love my Metroidvanias. You know, that kind of game. I've always enjoyed them, and this tickles those same bones in the same kind of way. Like it's got the fantastic thing. I was probably helped a little bit by your suggestion of at the very beginning. I think Nob started playing it and you said, did you level up with the Mermen at all?
Oh, yeah.
My immediate thing was, I'm going to get leveled up here for a little while.
Knock out a couple of levels there.
Yep. I think I got like 5 or 6 and then moved on.
Yeah. A lot of people sit there and get like 20, but I get 2 or 3 to give you a fighting chance.
It's too long to spend there. I didn't cheese really anything for XP like a normal Castlevania game, where you find that one area where you can milk for good XP to get at least a couple intermediate levels. But this time I kind of went in just full bore, just full go, just keep pounding through it. And I got that bad habit in Castlevania games. I have to kill everything.
Yeah,
me too. But that's just me in every game. It's like if it can be smashed, I smash it. If it can be collected, I collect it. If it can be killed, I kill it.
Yeah. Yeah, so how do you feel that like this game, like this Castlevania, compares to some of the other ones you played? Because you mentioned you played some of the DS ones.
It's hard to say really, because like I've got a permanent passion for the first. I think it was the first DS one. I wish I could remember the name of it now.
Dawn of Sorrow.
Dawn of Sorrows.
Yeah.
The guy, I think he was a Belmont, but he was the one with the whip in that game.
The one with Soma, the white-haired guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really loved.
He had 2 games. It was Aria Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to be honest, it outstrips them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it just outclasses them. As much as I have my beef with some issues of the game, like the complete lack of telling you anything.
Yeah.
I get it though. I like Dark Souls, so that's not necessarily a bad thing for me. The simple fact that this is 20 years old and it feels like it's about 4 years old should tell you like how far ahead of the game they were. Like the way the game looks, the way the game sounds, the way the game plays. Like, let's just get it flat out the way right here and now. I don't think I've played a game that controls as good as this game controls.
It's so tight. Like, when people say, you know, this game plays really tight, you know, the platforming is tight, this is one of those games where I feel like that's true. Like, every movement you make is one you deliberately did. And, you know, when you land, you can jump immediately. The double jump feels great. The transforming feels great. I mean, nothing about it is like, well, that was sort of clunky.
Yeah. And to say the fact that game controls that well, and still 20 years later, it controls... Literally, I don't think I've played a game that controls as good as this does.
Yeah.
The only time I ever really fell, and it was like a mistake, was when Medusa hit me, but we can get into Medusa later.
Oh, the Medusa heads or the Medusa boss?
Medusa heads.
Yeah, Medusa heads are just... The funniest thing about Medusa heads is it's just a sine wave. We all know what's coming, and it's going to hit us every single time. And we can never get around it.
But when it spits 3 or 4 in different lines, you just like you're literally paralyzed.
Yeah.
Especially with the yellow ones. Hey-oh.
Yeah, especially if you don't have the mirror mail on, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And look, there was a couple of moments in the game I was a little frustrated. One of them was when I went into the clock tower area on the standard castle, I went there under-leveled and immediately got stoned and then killed by everything in that area.
Yeah.
There was a couple of times I made a mistake of running past save rooms because I was thinking, oh, I'll explore this area and then I'll move on to the next.
I'll be fine.
In exploring those areas, I didn't explore the save room and went instead to the boss room.
Oh, yeah.
Which locks the door behind you, and then when you die, you've got to do the whole process all over again. But again, Dark Souls, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you mentioned earlier about this game not really telling you what to do. I think largely I've never found that to be a problem. It might be because when I bought it, their EGM tips and tricks section was sort of like, did you know there's an upside down castle if you do these 3 things? Now, like, most people know that just through osmosis.
Yeah, like me, I knew there was an inverted castle. I didn't know how to unlock it, but I knew it was there.
You already know, like, the game's big secret. But I think the only thing that I still take issue with is the Jewel of Open, the thing that opens the blue doors. It's just
Nobs had to explain that to me in a party.
Yeah, it's just in a weird spot, and I think the game assumes you're going to read each and every item in the librarian's shop, and no one did that in *97. No one's doing it in 2017. Yeah. Like, I go in there, I buy Castle Map 1, I buy Jewel of Open, and then I get the hell out of there. Like, once you know it, you're fine, but until then, you're just like, I can't go I don't have a double jump and I can't get through these stupid doors. What the hell, game?
Yep, and literally I went in, spoke to the librarian, looked at his shop, bought Castle Map 1 and walked out.
Yeah.
And I was actually in the process of being halfway across the castle when I was speaking to Nobs about it. And I was like, so what now? And he was like, oh, did you get the Jewel of Open? And I was like, no. What's
Son
that? So then I had to run all
I
the way
did my
back.
civil service right there.
Yeah.
Yes. But no, I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, like I said, the simple mind-blowing fact about the controls to me, as someone who, like, I've played hundreds of video games, literally hundreds and probably thousands at this point, and I'm still playing games that come out today, brand new, that do not have the level of controls that this game has.
Yeah.
And that in itself can elevate a game way beyond its standing as it should be. And it elevates Symphony to me to even greater heights because it allows me to look past the fact that yes, it looks a little dated because it's so old. Yes, the sound quality isn't perfect because it's a little old.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were talking about it in Discord. Someone mentioned, we mentioned it, I think, post-show a couple of weeks ago. Oh, but you get to listen to that amazing music now. It's like, true, but again, I've played other Castlevania games, so I've heard better renditions of those music.
I think when you take it comparatively, when we talked about peers, you look at Final Fantasy VII, which does have a large soundtrack, but all of that is MIDI. The like I was talking about, the transition from 16 to 32-bit, that still feels like it has one leg in the past. You pop in Symphony of the Night, and nowadays it doesn't, but then it sounded orchestrated. You're like, God, this is real music. Like, there is a Red Book audio track on the CD, which also, if you pop it in, Alucard's voice actor tells you, don't play track 1 because it will break your stereo. Go to the next track, which is really great. But like the massive audio leap from something huge and best-selling like Final Fantasy VII to something like Symphony of the Night is sort of like, wow, this is okay. It's one of those moments where like, okay, cool, this is what video games can be. Like this is a sea change here.
Yeah, and like I said, like the music in it is amazing, and especially I'm sure for you guys, you get that little smile on your face the first time you walk in that front castle, and then that riff hits to start the main theme when you're in the start and entrance area.
Killer kicks in, and it's like, yeah, that's the stuff.
I had a big smile on my face because I've heard that so many times. Just like I said, just through osmosis, like DST, I've heard it on there too, because it has to make an appearance on DST.
Yeah.
I love the library when I get into the library and it's got that real dink, 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 dink. I was like, this is the best.
Yeah.
It still makes me happy every time I get in there.
There's a if someone wants to watch something really impressive, the woman who composed all the music. She performs that live. There's a great version of it on YouTube, and it's just watching her fingers move like lightning. It's just like, this is... You're too good for video games. Like, this is... You're crazy. But yeah, for me, the music I thought was really impressive, but I didn't... This was actually my first Castlevania game. I never played 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the NES or the Super NES growing up. I don't know why, but... and for me, playing this was sort of like, okay, cool, this is what Castlevania games... And then, like, playing all of them afterwards, it's like, yeah, these are all great. And then looking and playing the first couple is sort of like... Oh, okay, these are NES games. Gotcha. Okay, this is the chasm between the 4 and Symphony is large.
Oh, it's huge because I remember playing the first Castlevania game on my neighbor's NES. That's the one console I really didn't own, but I remember playing. I think it was Castlevania 3 on the Genesis, and just being like, "This is the best thing in the world."
Yeah.
And then coming across. Symphony of the Night was a revelation.
Yeah.
It really in control and game style. And then literally the only reason why I own a DS is because of Castlevania.
Yep.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that might have been the reason I got my DS as well. Oh, wait, no, Pokemon was. Castlevania was reason number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. We mentioned the inverted castle earlier. I feel like that, I mentioned EGM. I feel like that was one of those playground stories. I was in high school by that point, but that was one of the school bus ride to high school stories where it's like, dude, did you know there's another castle? And it's like, come on, dude. Of course there's not. Like, I beat it and I killed Richter and the game's over. What are you talking about? It's like, no, you got to do this specific. You got to explore the whole thing. And put on the 2 rings, and then go see what happens. And it's like, oh, okay. There actually is another half to this game, and it's stupid hard.
Yep. Oh yeah, and I forgot what a brick wall it was. I think I was texting you at some point, being like, I forgot how hard this game gets.
Yep.
As soon as you get in there, especially when you get around the big clock in the middle of the map.
Oof.
Those knights aren't messing around.
No.
Yeah. I was actually, unbeknownst to me, I made a very wise decision in the inverted castle because I did the edges, I did the big loop, then went to the middle. So they were literally the last guys I ran into, and they still took me for a bit of a whooping around the woodshed kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because I went in thinking I was going to breeze through them like I had been everything else.
Yeah, these things will be fine. Whoops, I'm dead.
Yeah. Or that stupid panther. Oh my god, I hate that panther.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, I think the other thing too that always blows me away is I find it so impressive that they took the castle and they just literally flipped it upside down. I'm assuming to say, hey, we can get twice the amount of game in here for virtually no work. We already have a huge castle mapped out. Let's just flip it upside down and it's going to be totally different. But then they go ahead and they put double the amount of enemies in there where sprites were not easy to make still in 97, and for them to just be like, I don't know, here's like a shadow panther that sort of blobs up to the ceiling and blobs back down. Alright, let's put that in and he'll just be in one room. Okay, cool. Let's make 10 more bosses and you'll just fight them for real quick because you're super overpowered, and then okay, that'll be there. That's cool. Yeah,
they didn't do the 16-bit classic of slightly increasing the sprite size and giving a color palette swap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, here's a red skeleton. Ooh. It's so tough.
Oh, those Nova skeletons. I forgot how hard they hit until I jumped in front of one by accident. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, can we talk about them for a second?
Hit me for 487. Okay, cool.
Yeah. They were actually one of the reasons I realized I'd put the wrong armor on. I think I talked about it last week when I said, oh, I'll put the Alucard stuff on instead of the Alucard. They were one of the reasons I realized it, because they one-shotted me when I was in the inverted castle.
There is actually one use for the Alucard armor, and if you put all of the pieces on together, it dramatically increases your luck.
That's
so you'll get better
if you go for drops
from enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the piece of armor I always forget about is the Dragoon helm, I think it's called.
Oh, the thing that strikes fear in enemies.
Yeah, and until this playthrough, I'm like, because it says like scares enemies, comma DEF down. I was just like, okay, cool. And I finally figured out this time it's you scare the enemies and their defense goes down. And I was like, because it almost sounds like your defense goes down. I was like, cool. So I scare enemies, which does nothing, and my defense goes down. This is stupid.
Yes.
See, I always use that thing.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the pieces of armor. I always use it because it's one of the pieces of armor death takes away at the beginning. So I figured, well, that has to be the best armor. One of my favorite things to do in Symphony of the Night is it's super easy to do with the items it gives you at the beginning of the game, but you can skip past death taking away all your items. Basically, you overflow the buffer on the PS1. You can do it on the Xbox Live version, and you go backwards through that door, and when you overflow that buffer, death just doesn't show up. And you get to keep all that stuff at the beginning.
That's kind of incredible.
Yeah, it's frame perfect, so it's a little tough to do, but once you do it, it's like, oh, good. Yes. I've done it a couple times, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, well, we've covered most of the, a lot of what goes on, why this game is so good.
Mm.
I'm not a big fan of the voice acting, but I get it. PlayStation days.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like a B movie. It's so beloved now. They actually, when we talked about Dracula X Chronicles, they redid the translation and the voice acting in that, and it's the same stuff, but it's not. It doesn't have like that campy. It's like a trauma movie. You know, like you sort of expect it to be bad.
Right, everyone is so serious in the best, in the most ironically best way.
Okay, I keep forgetting the end of the quote because it happened and I meant to write it down and I forgot, but please finish this quote for me. What is a man?
A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk, have at you. Cling. That's actually not one of my favorite lines. One of my favorite lines is when Death, right before he takes away your stuff at the beginning, he goes, "We will meet again." I was just like, yeah, awesome. His Japanese voice is awesome, though. It is spooky as hell. I don't know what effect they use, but man.
Yeah, so good. No, that "What is a man?" I've heard that for years and years and years. And as soon as Dracula says "What is a man?" I kind of burst out laughing, and I was like, "Okay, there we go."
It's so funny because it's not a terrible line. It's just like it's so much like community theater. Like, what is a man? Like, bring it down, dude. Bring it. Just you don't have to yell to the crowd. Just project Dracula.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a lot about the inverted castle as well. Like that at the time. I think you mentioned it. Like you were in high school at the time. This was pre-internet boom.
Yep.
It was getting there, but it wasn't a big thing. Like the old school, like you said, the playground rumors and things like that, and did you know this? You know, did you know smoke can transform into blah 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 in Mortal Kombat?
Right.
All this kind of stories. Like spoiler alert for me, I cheated a little bit to get all of the secret rooms. What a shocker! I kind of needed to because some of them are ridiculous.
Yeah, some of them are sort of. You look at that map, and we did this when the internet was new too. You look at that map and you're like squinting so you can see that one little doorway that leads to a secret room you don't have, and you're looking at it next to your screen. You're like, okay, I think it's that. It's like I would have never found that. It's in the floor. Well, great.
I'm leaning back, like I've got my phone, like trying to scale up the size here, like
lining it up.
No, I don't. Man, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
It was in the process of doing that. Like someone commented on it. Obviously, a super fan. Probably it might have been one of you two, for all I know. But they mentioned that the reason the game is so beloved so many years after its release is because probably up till about 10 years after it came out, people were still discovering things about it. I mean, Nobs, you said you said during this playthrough that you picked up items that you'd never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close. There's so many rare drops in this game that, I mean, even if you have your luck all the way up and you sit there and you troll through it for, I don't know, at least 50 hours if you spend the time just trying to get stuff to drop. Like, it never drops, and then all of a sudden one random playthrough, there it is. You're like, oh.
Yeah, one random playthrough you get the chrysogram, and you're like, cool, the rest of this game is going to be super easy. Yeah, I think, you know, even speed running is pretty fantastic with this game, and they're finding more and more ways to break this game. There's some cool stuff you can do where you get outside of the map with the sword familiar. He can actually kick you out of the map, and you can get like 206 point something %. You know, the Richter playthrough is pretty crazy if you do that. There's
I started that.
It's pretty tough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's no joke, and you can get to that inverted castle real quick.
Yeah. There's also one, you'd have to look it up, but there's another name you can put in where it's just gibberish and like an asterisk, and it gives you something like 50 or 75 luck straight off. The rest of your stats don't grow as much, but Mina in chat says some of my favorite speedruns are Castlevania, especially this one, especially when they do races. Some of my favorite stuff for games done quick is when they do 4-player Symphony of the Night races, because if they go for any %, some of those runs can be like 20-30 minutes. And it's crazy to see people shaving off just seconds off of other people's runs. It's great. Oh man, this game is so good.
It's a classic for a reason.
Did you have anything else, Moon, that you sort of had trouble with on the in the what you didn't like category?
Besides the golden giant lightning demon.
Oh, somebody on the forums actually recommended the game, like right before then gives you the ruby circlet, some circlet that absorbs lightning damage.
Oh.
And I was just like, yeah, it does. Oh. And I always forget about it because I just have the one helmet on already. Like, why would I put another one on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another one of those, we're going to give you this and then not tell you that this is exactly what you need for this next room.
They're sort of expecting you to look at the item description for every item you pick up, but I've played this dozens of times, so it's like, yeah, I picked them in the circlet. Great. Okay, cool.
Oh, wow.
Whoops.
I mean, that's mind-blowing. But, yeah, I mean, to say it's a classic is definitely valid. I think, for me personally, I can respect it. I don't think I love it as much as you guys do. I think it is an absolutely quality game. I think it's definitely worth anyone to do a single playthrough through. I mean, I think I put 8 hours was my save time to get the 203.6 or 8 or whatever it is %. 200.8.
Whatever the achievement wants.
Yes. I put like 8-9 hours in to get that. I finally found my one missing room that I was missing.
Where was it, by the way?
Inverted castle, right hand side. It was just a regular room. It wasn't even a secret room.
Always gets you where it's like, I've been in all these rooms, I'm fine. Just fall down this whole chamber.
It's TV issues again, where it's like slightly blurry TV, so the line doesn't really show as having a gap in it when it blurs. You're
just playing, the CRT experience from 20 years ago, where you're playing on like a 13, if you're lucky, a 13-inch CRT, where it's like, is that a, what? I don't know if that's a room or not.
But
oh man, we're so spoiled now.
Yeah.
I think, I'm achievement hunter, so therefore I have to go back and get my 2 achievements that I have left.
Which ones do you have left?
Which are Bloodlines without taking any damage, which...
Oh, that's easy. That's just practice.
That's easy enough. Yeah, exactly. And the first time he absolutely smacked me all over the place. I tried it again, like after I'd beaten the game, and I was like, I know all of these attacks because the amount of times I've faced this version of Dracula in HD is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because that is very much a loot grind kind of game as well. So I got him all the way down to 1 hit left, and then he hit me once. I was very mad. And the final achievement other than that is Richter, both castles.
I had a lot of fun on that playthrough because it's so different and so difficult, and as soon as you get the holy water, you can do his I don't remember how you do his like rain attack with the holy roller.
It's the Y button.
Yeah, just do that, and it melts bosses.
Yep. Well, I'm already I think I'm about halfway through the regular castle, just because I immediately because at this point it doesn't matter. So I just googled, does he have special moves like
the down up jump,
like Alucard does? And it's like, yes, he does. He has a down up jump. He has a dash.
I'm gonna skip the whole castle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's like, oh look, there's that place I couldn't get to, and I know there's just a room full of enemies on my right, but I'm gonna go to the right, go up, and then go to the left. I'm just gonna jump straight up this middle section and just go left.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it is quality. It is classic. I'd say definitely play it once. I don't know if I'll go back to it. I might. It depends on where this generation takes us. But it's a time issue for me.
For me, it's always like, do you have a rainy Saturday where not a lot is going on? All right, I can bang through this game. And even if I only get halfway through and it took me 4 hours to play through it this time. And if I spend an hour or two and I get about halfway through, that's fine. I played some Symphony of the Night. I had a pretty good time.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. If you haven't played this, go and play it. I probably would have played this sooner. Upon starting being a third chair on the podcast, I probably would have played it sooner if I didn't know it was already in the Game Club list.
Right.
Because it's seminal, and this is from someone who I didn't have the game. I don't have the nostalgia for it that you guys have. It's still a seminal, important point in video game histories where this shows you what quality can do for a game to the point where it's 20 years old and it doesn't feel it. And
yeah, it's like Sonic 2, where it's like, if you never played Sonic 2, at least play through it once. It's such a landmark game, like Super Mario World. These are those games that you really should play, and they're so available that you should at least try to get through it once just to see why it's so popular.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a reason why this is #1 on everyone's Castlevania list too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the only game that even came close to it was Curse of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And and everyone will probably argue some of the DS games, but Curse of Darkness is a stroke of brilliance.
Yeah, I think a lot of the DS games, and even the Game Boy Advance games, I even like Circle of the Moon, the one that came out, which was impossible to see because the original GBA FAT did not have backlight.
And it works great on the DS Lite. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I like almost all of those, but they don't have the same something that Symphony of the Night has. I don't know if it's because it was, the first Metroidvania Castlevania game, or if they, are missing something here and there, but Symphony of the Night's just one of those special games that, like Moon said, even if you don't like it, it's easy to see why it's so beloved, and it's easy to see why it really it didn't take the industry by storm when it came out. Critically it was very well received, but once more and more people start playing it and lending it to people and renting it, it's just sort of like, okay, yeah, this is something new and different and better.
Yeah,
pretty easy to see why.
It's the perfect game of its time too.
Yeah,
that was when, or this style of game is what shined on that generation of console. It wasn't because they were still trying to figure out 3D games at that point.
Like we were talking about with Final Fantasy VII, where it's like these models don't look good.
Right. And then even
impressive, but
Castlevania fell to that trope with that Castlevania game on the N64, which is just the hardest thing I've ever played in my life.
Yeah.
Which I honestly think that might have been my very first Castlevania game.
Oh, woof.
Oh.
Yikes.
Yes. I was a big N64 person. I didn't have a PlayStation 1 until quite late in the cycle for that console, so Blast Corps is one of my favorite games of all time because I probably spent hundreds of thousands of hours playing that game.
Yeah. Knobs, any closing remarks here? I feel like we've sort of said our piece about one of our favorite games.
I mean, man, this set off a genre of games that is very, very often emulated but never duplicated. It is probably the pinnacle of what a Metroidvania game is, because it is the OG.
Yeah, you have like the 1-2 punch of Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night, both sort of two sides of that same coin, and they're both really great.
Well, right, coupled with the amazing sprite work, the sound design, and just the controls, it's everything. Like literally, the stars align for this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were right before. It's easily the best Castlevania game. And, bar none, it's the best.
And hopefully the stars will align when Bloodstained comes out. Iga's new...
The new one, yeah.
Yeah, the new basically Symphony of the Night. He did pretty well with all of his other Castlevania games after that, but none of them really... Lightning couldn't strike twice for a lot of that stuff. Maybe because, Metroidvania didn't really come to a home console again. They were all handhelds.
Yes.
Until, Castlevania HD, but that was such a different beast that and then they started diverging from there. But
I would love to have those on a collection to play.
Me too.
Because it's just something about sitting in front of your TV and exploring that. I mean, granted, handheld's great, but man, I'd really love to get through Harmony of Dissonance.
Yeah.
Because, man, that game's hard. Or Order of Ecclesia.
Order of Ecclesia was hard. That second was brutal.
That might be the only one I have never finished.
Yeah, I didn't finish that one either.
Me either.
Man. I don't have much more to add. This is one of my favorite games of all time. This for me is up there with, Sonic 2, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 12. Like, these are you asked for my top 10, and this is going to be in there. It's to me, it's not a perfect game. It's 20 years old, so there are a lot of very valid issues that we've talked about during here. But I can very easily put on the rose-colored glasses and say, like, yep, still great. Played through it a couple hours, and we're still good here. So,
I mean, as much as it's it's literally impossible to give an objective list of a top 10.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to give an objective list of a top 10, this needs to be on it. It won't be on my top 10 favorite games of all time, but that also is because it holds no nostalgia factor for me.
Right.
If I was playing it at the time, I would have been blown away by it. But because it's 2017, it might be in my top 20 of all time, but it wouldn't make my top 10 just because subjectively it doesn't hit me in the same way it hits other people.
Well, and that's funny because I would have rather played Castlevania Symphony of the Night than played anything on a PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, that's the love I have for this particular game.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this next month's game, 2013's Shadow Warrior.
Oh, perfect timing. Let me finish it.
Yep, the random.org list came up with Lo Wang at the top. This came out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. This will be my first time playing it. I've played, I think, the first level and said, this is really good, I'll get back to it. And if you've been listening to the show for more than a couple episodes, you know what happened.
Yes.
This one's on my top 10 like a couple years ago, wasn't it?
Yep,
yeah,
it was.
Pretty high when it came out, I think. Yeah, so 2013 Shadow Warrior. I think a lot of places sell it in a Shadow Warrior 1 and 2 bundle for stupid cheap.
It was like $30.
Yeah, so you can pick this up for virtually nothing. It runs great on both platforms, runs great on PC. From what I understand, there's no real preferred platform, so pick it up for whatever you got.
It's dangerous outside. Take a Wang with you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's
the next episode is going to be very difficult to record, Boston.
All right, that's our episode this month. We will see you in 4 more weeks. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
And thank you everyone for watching the live stream. Bye.
Bye-bye.